Alright, so hello and welcome. Today, we're going to be going over the top 10 utility cantrips for D&D, in my opinion. Imagine. Okay, so, the reason I broke this video up is today we're going to go over 10 utility and 10 combat. In my opinion, there's way too many cantrips, and they have very different use cases on which ones are good. So without further ado, let's get into it. But first, today's video sponsor is myself. Are you a dungeon master that has been frustrated by D&D mass combat rules? Well, worry no longer. I have a solution for you DMs. The Squad Combat module lets you run mass combat quickly, with massive customization options. Do you like additional D&D supplements that improve the immersion and realism of your games? Want maps for your D&D adventures? Reduce your prep time, improve your games, and become a Patreon member today by clicking the link below in the description to join. And a special shout out to my Patreons that make this stuff possible. Alrighty, boys, so let's get onto it. So, number 10 is Gust. Alright, so in my opinion, Gust is number 10. The reason for this is very simple. Gust lets you basically, you can push an object that's no more than 5 pounds up to 10 feet away from you as an action, and this thing is only one action, so you can spam it if you're out of combat. You can slam a window or door shut in theory, and there's a lot more creative uses you can do, and also you could technically make someone use a strength saving throw to be pushed 5 feet away from you. It's okay in that situation, but it's not great. The reason it's not great is a lot of monsters have very high strength, and when they have very high strength, they're not going to be pushed that far, and the thing only has 30-foot range. So, number 10, Gust. Alright, so number 9 is going to be Light. Alright, so the reason Light is useful for, let's be honest, since Monsters of the Multiverse released, pretty much every creature except human has dark vision, okay? Now, you need light if you are a human and you can't see because, you don't have dark vision. Every other creature has dark vision and can technically see in the dark. However, they see in gray and white, just like your dog would, okay? Now, if you make a perception check as written in the DMG, it can be a disadvantage because it's all gray, okay? You don't actually see in color. Now, light fixes this problem. First of all, 1, light is a cantrip that is non-concentration and it lasts for 1 hour. Okay? So, you can pick up a little stone, rock, branch, stick, whatever, and you can make it have a light on it that sheds for an additional, that basically is bright light 20 feet and then dim light for another 20 feet. And you can make the light color whatever you want. If you want red, you could actually argue that red doesn't travel as far as white light, which it doesn't. That's why militaries use it, red lights on your head cams for doing night ops. And you can completely cover the object in something opaque like light, okay? And the spell ends if you cast it again or dismiss it as an action. So, if you get a little rock, this is something you can do, and you cast the light cantrip on it, and you hold it, right? Hold it in your hand so nothing can see. You can then throw it, okay, down a hallway corridor and see if there's any enemies down there. Now, usually, if they're dumb monsters, they'll attack the light source, and this can be very useful in the certain situations. You can also throw it in any direction to scout out for monsters, okay? And it should get their attention. Maybe distract them. Also, if you need a simple light source, like in your hand, where you can make it glow, very short, again, it's up to your DM on this, but you can be able to have a little light in your hand, and if you have a piece of cloth, a cover, a cloak, you can flip it over, okay, make this red, and then you can read a map in color, even if you have dark vision, okay? You can read it in color, that's the main thing. That's what you actually do in the military, quote unquote, with the cloak and the red light. So yes, it is very useful. And what I mean by spam is, again, you can just technically spam this thing out and just keep throwing these little light beam sources out. So that is why light is useful. Very useful on humans, and it can be very useful in a lot of situations that you need to if you're fighting at night, dark, whatever. All right, number 9. Number 8 is Mending. Okay, this lets you fix objects as a cantrip, and it has a casting time of 1 minute. Not 6 seconds, okay? Not 1 action, 1 minute. Now, this lets you fix mundane objects, Okay, no longer than basically like 1 foot into any dimension. Okay, so hypothetically, if you broke your mom's vase and we had mending in real life, you could go over to the vase and say, "I'm gonna fix that," and it puts it back together. That is a very easy way to think of mending. You can also fix a broken key for whatever reason. Let's say a key snaps. You can fix it if it's not a magical key. You can fix it and put it back together and unlock a door. You can see how that can be very useful. You could, in theory, break a key in front of an important NPC and say, haha, haha, I'm the only one that can fix this, and I have to pay you money or something, and then you mend it. Depends if they know about magic or not. And that works. Now, the one limitation on mending is that it can't repair magic items. You can't restore magic to an object. So if it had like magical properties for some reason and it's gone, you can't repair it. That is the one limitation on it, okay? So, very useful for mundane objects. Let's say, for example, I'll use a D&D thing that I did. My friend broke a cartwheel, right? That was going down the thing. He broke it with like tripping a rock or something. Wheel fell off, okay? Me and my other member go up to the thing. I'm casting Mending to fix the wheel while he talks to the person and gains information on where he's going and all that sort of stuff for an important quest, okay? That's why Mending is useful, so you can actually fix things. All right, that's number 8. Number 7, Prestidigitation. Okay, so this is a very complicated spell. First, it might not seem like it's complicated, but it is. First, you can create an instance of odor or sensory effects to the shower, sparkles, puff of wind, musical note, odd odor. Okay, you can create a light, clean soil, clean stuff, chill or warm or something, create color, non-magical trinket as an illusionary. Okay, I will link an article in below that's literally from RPG Bot that just goes over Prestidigitation. And all the uses you can use it. This basically has limitless possibilities for whatever you want to use it for. As a cast, you can have one action and it lasts for an hour. Okay. You can, and also you can cast a spell multiple times, and you have up to 3 items. Okay, going at a time. So you can make a shower of sparkles, a small amulet, and you can warm your food. You can also clean the blood off of surfaces, which is a very use of it that you can use if you're very situational. But there's a lot of situations in which you can use Prestidigitation, and that is why it is number 7. Okay, as a cantrip, very good. Number 6, Mold Earth. All right. So, Mold Earth. Basically, you can move things that are loose, soil, dirt, and you can manipulate it in any way you want. So, if you need to excavate a whole trench system World War I style and you're in the dirt and it's soft and movable, you can do it. You can make an entire trench network for your safety. Now, I will tell you the first example of this was me and my friends were getting ambushed by goblins above, and we had to be, oh no! So we built a face trench that went up and down, so we were down on the cover, and it went up to block arrow fire, and we would step up and shoot them. That is one use you can use it, okay? You can also build huts for yourself while you are traveling as one action, and very easily make a defensible camp. Very good in that scenario. And you can change an entire battlefield to your benefit. Okay, if you have time to prepare for an encounter, you can make a whole trench system for you. You can make the enemy thing difficult terrain, because that is one of your things. You can make it become difficult terrain, and it lasts for an hour. So you have to pre-plan this. But it only takes 6 seconds for 5 feet. And you can make it all difficult terrain, have your trenches set up, have pillboxes or whatever, and be able to shoot at people. Okay, this spell is very good, and that is why it's number 6. There are many other uses you could possibly do for it. You can change the colors and the appearances of whatever, right? Very good, but I outlined the benefits there, all right? Number 5, Minor Illusion. All right, so Minor Illusion basically lets you create illusions. You can create an object as an illusion. It is invaluable for sneaking around, all right? So, for example, let's say you create a cat, and you make it, I don't know, sit there, and the man's like, oh, hello, kitty, and then you can sneak in the back. Or you could create a big spider that's small, 5 foot, cubed, and you could freak someone out very easily because it's a spider that's 5 foot cubed, and they'd be at least distracted, right? This lets you basically create also a sound, whisper to a scream, anything illusion that you could cast, right? You can't cast multiple because it is only one as an action, but it is non-concentration. You can also they also have to discern if it is an actual illusion based on your spell save DC. So on a wizard, it is very good because your DC is high. On other classes, it buys you a moment notice. Otherwise, not so much. Depends on your spell save DC. If you have a 13, it's trash. If it's an 18, it is very good. Okay. This is just illusion, and it is very good, and there are limitless possibilities, right, on how you can use this. And I recommend it at number 5 because it's that good. Number 4 is message. All right, it's a cantrip, one action, 120 feet. Duration is 1 round, and you can point at someone and transfer a message as a whisper. Okay, and they can reply back to you as a whisper. So, situationally, you can use this in a party to point at someone, get their attention, say what you're going to say for a message. So, they'll say, hey, there are goblins across this corridor. I need you to set up the shield and come with me, right? Very good, right? That. There's also the ability to cast through objects if you are familiar with the target, which is very good and valuable in case you need to go, say, through one stone that's 1 foot across and reach someone. You can. You have to be familiar with them, though. Familiar with them, whatever that really means. You can also point to a party member and do whatever you tell them to do, whatever. Also, there is no thing that says you cannot do this to anyone. It just says towards a creature within range. So you could, theory, message a guard and say, I am the devil's son, answer me, and freak him out or something. Basically, you can spook them. And there is no save, which is kind of a... there is no save, which is kind of broken. If you really want to torment someone, you could literally just keep messaging them, and they'd be in the brain, and you would develop schizophrenia. Yeah, so very powerful, especially if you use it like that. And the way it's probably not intended, but it can work there. That's why it's number 4. Number 3 is Encode Thoughts. All right, so this is from Guild Masters to Ravenica, and it's available for the wizard. Now, you can get cantrips through a variety of ways, especially from the wizard class, right? You can do ritual caster. There's a whole bunch of stuff you could do. Now, you can also take a level 1 wizard. Now, Encode Thoughts allows you to pass information perfectly to party members, okay? So, you put your finger to your head and you pull out a memory, an idea, or message, and you transform it into a tangible string that glows, okay? When you do this, basically think of a little ribbon that has a memory or an idea or a message you want to pass on, and it lasts for 8 hours, or until you cast a spell again, and you can put it in your brain and read it. Now, that would be good on its own. So, for example, let's say the rogue, an arcane trickster, pulled a memory out, for example, a memory of a conversation or whatever, and gave it to the party and just kept doing this, okay? That would be very beneficial. To scout out an entire location. Be very, very beneficial to do that, okay? There's a lot of uses for that. Now, on top of that, if you cast a spell while concentrating on a spell or an ability that lets you read or manipulate the thoughts of others, such as detect thoughts, or modify memory, you can transform the thoughts or memories you read rather than your own into a thought strand. I don't think I need to tell you how powerful that is, okay? So, for example, if you encode a thought and you are going to do detect thoughts on someone else, you can, in theory, pull their reaction. So let's say you sit a criminal down and you ask him, did you murder, were you at this location yesterday? And they think, no, I wasn't. And they say, or they think, yes, I was. And they say, no, I wasn't. Right? You can pull that out of their brain because you're detecting their thoughts, and you can use this as evidence. Now, that is very powerful and kind of broken when you really think about it for a cantrip that combos. Again, this is a combo with detect thoughts and modify memory, but that's very powerful, and is one of the only cantrips in the game, I believe, that you can't actually combo with other spells, okay? Also, when casting the spell and holding a thought strand that allows you to receive whatever memory or idea or the message thought contained in it, casting detect thoughts has the same thing, right? So, again, very good on a rogue. Scout out pass information on to anybody, do whatever, and very good for criminal investigations. And that is why it is number 3. A very underrated cantrip and very useful in the right situations, okay? Number 2 is Mage Hand, alright? I might get some kickback here, but I don't really care because of my list. Mage Hand is a cantrip, 1 action, 30 feet, and its duration is 1 minute. You create a spectral hand that can do basically whatever you want. And you can dismiss it as an action, and it can't be more than 30 feet away from you. However, you can control the hand, manipulate objects, unlock a door, shove, stow, contain, do whatever you need with an extra hand, okay? You can't attack, you can't activate a magic item, or carry more than 10 pounds. I don't need to tell you how valuable this is. You can grab a pan from across the room and chuck it into a bartender, okay? It's not an attack. You're just throwing it at the bartender. Now, you could say that there's actually an attack, or you could say that he picks up the pan and yeets it into the ceiling to get their attention. There is a variety of uses you can do for Mage Hand. You can be talking with someone and use Mage Hand to, remember, you do have to do a verbal and somatic component, which means you are verbally speaking and doing wishy-washy. But you can, in theory, do wishy-washy and speak a verbal component, or if you combo this with Subtle Spell, you don't have to do any of that. And use Mage Hand to basically talk to someone and steal their money from them at the same time. It's great. You can also get someone's attention without speaking to them. So, like, you're like, I want to summon a Mage Hand to poke at him. Let's say you're talking with someone. And you cough or something for a second and you do wishy-washy. You can then poke someone across the room and get their attention. There's a variety of things. You could also check for traps by sending your little Mage Hand. Because it doesn't say it does not have any weight. It is technically spectral. Now, depending, you could send it into a hallway and be like, is there anything here? I don't know. Let's check. And then you get a pan, because, a pan is not a spectral. And you drag it across the thing, and you set off a tripwire. The tripwire goes off, and boopy, nobody dies because the Mage Hand did it. A variety of uses. Mage Hand is one of the best things you can do for a cantrip, and it's an action and non-concentration. So that's why it's number 2. Number 1, you all knew was going to come Guidance. Alright, Guidance is number 1 very simply because Guidance is good. Guidance is a cantrip, 1 action, the range of touch, and touch person, verbal somatic components, and duration of 1 minute. We'll get to that part. And it's basically on a cleric, druid, or artificer. And what it allows you to do is do a 1d4 on every ability check if you have time. For example, if you cast Guidance on yourself and say, I'm going to make an investigation check now. You roll your d20, plus your mod, plus another d4. Very good. This is the best cantrip for utility. This gives you an extra d4 on pretty much every ability check you're ever going to make. And I have an example down here. I'm going to make a perception check to look for enemies. I cast Guidance on myself, roll my perception check, add the d4, it's even higher, right? Now, it says duration for 1 minute. However, that is only implying if you don't use it for 1 minute. As soon as you use the roll, it's gone. So yeah, you can basically spam this. You just can't spam it on multiple people. You have to do like, I'm going to do perception check. Then I'm going to do an investigation check. Then I'm going to do something else. You can't all do it at the same time. It doesn't work like that. Now, that's pretty much it for Guidance, right? If someone in your party should take Guidance, and I will tell you, most of the time, you should take Guidance on yourself because the other person will probably forget unless you're playing in a very high tier D&D game, which I'm assuming most of you are not, because I never have. People will forget they have Guidance, and when you have Guidance, you don't need to worry about that, okay? Some other things that can go wrong with Guidance is if your DM, for example, says like I have to raise all the DCs because Guidance is being spammed. That's on your DM. Can't do anything about that. Adventures League, they can't really do anything about Guidance. But yeah, so that's why Guidance is basically the best utility cantrip. Adding a d4 to every ability check you ever going to make is very nice. And to your friends too, because it can be on your friends too. So, I hope you found the list helpful on the top 10 utilities that you can do. On your screen right now should be a thing to take you back to how to design a castle that I think you should go check out. Also my Patreon if you would be so kind as to check it out. Otherwise, I will see you people tomorrow for the top 10 combat cantrips. Otherwise, I'll see you people later.